Hello guys and welcome again to Legacy IS Academy, and here we continue with our economic surveys detailed analysis series. We move on to chapter 9 now, which is about investment and infrastructure. Now this chapter also will have, like the previous one, will have a lot of data, but you need to only focus on the important ones and understand whether the things have improved or not, increased or decreased, what has been the trend, so on and so forth. But there are going to be certain important terms and definitions specifically in this chapter which we are going to see. So this chapter talks about the investment and infrastructure, strengthening connectivity, capacity and competitiveness. So let's get started first with respect to the terms and definitions that are mentioned over here. So in this chapter, there has been a talk about the public-private partnership, and to undertake projects via the public-private partnership, of course, there is going to be a certain process. Now, the economic survey says that there has been an improved efficiency in this process of public-private partnership by the use of these models during the procedure. So that is why it becomes important for us to understand what are these models all about. UPSC may simply ask you that model request for qualification is related to which of the following, or they may ask you the detail or the difference between the two. They may ask you this and in the option give you the definition of all the three plus another thing and ask you which one is this, so on and so forth. So this is the kind of questions that can come. So let us now understand each of this model one by one. Before that, what is public-private partnership? See, in public-private partnership, the government plus the private sector both are involved. Now, let's say a public-private partnership project of the construction of an expressway or a highway. The government, of course, provides the land. The private sector brings in majority of the money, at times almost the entirety of the money, 100% or at least 85, 90, 95% of the money is of the private sector. Now it's the private sector that brings the money, it's the private sector that is doing the construction. So then how do they get paid? They get paid because the government is going to allow them to collect the toll taxes for the next 25 to 30 years. And yes, that is exactly why we pay toll taxes. Even after paying the income tax, and then buying a vehicle, let's say a car, from the income that has already been paid tax for, then you paid road tax on that, and then using all these taxes, the government was supposed to make roads for us. You will also pay tax on petrol as well. Now the government should make roads from this, but then the government is still somehow short of money. We all know the reasons as to why that is. So what the government does is gives the project to the private company, right? Asks them to build it. The money is of the private sector, and then gives this private sector 25, 30 or at times 35 years to keep on collecting the toll again from us. So this is what the PPP model is all about. Now in certain projects like the metro rail project, the metro ticket is fair enough because it's a service that is being provided. Right, you are being transported from one place to another. But when it is simply a road that's a public good, it becomes quite difficult to understand that why we need to pay again. However, there are certain positives which you should know for your exam. For example, because of this PPP, the money of the private sector gets invested, and the more money coming into the system means the development is going to be faster. That is the argument that there is, which is the positive. Let's move ahead. Now these three models are a part of the public-private partnership. First is the model request for qualification. Now let me explain you how this projects basically work. So if the government wants to build a road, an expressway, a metro or anything, the government is basically going to publish a tender that I want to build this road and this is the specification that I need. So then the first thing that will happen is the model request for qualification. Using this, the government will check whether your firm actually qualifies the criteria required to be a part of this project or not. So that's the very first thing. When that happens, next is the model request for proposal. So all those firms who clear the first stage and qualify for the project will then undergo this model request for proposal, wherein detailed model proposal will be shared with only those firms who qualify the first stage. When that also happens, then the model concession for agreement, this is the final stage. When this also happens, there will be a bid, someone is going to win the bid, and then comes the model concession agreement that will be there between the government and the construction company. Right, so this is how these three are related to each other and a part of the PPP project cycle. Now let's move ahead. Let's go into the detail of the chapter. This first talks about the government's capital expenditure, which has, it says, continued to rise steadily from financial year since financial year 2022. So you can see that this was 5.92 lakh crore. Now what is this 1.48 lakh crore? This is basically on top of this much has been added, right? And then this much has been added, and then another this and another this. So presently, when you add all these plus this, you will get 11.21 lakh crore. So you can see that the capital expenditure has consistently increased. But remember, the growth rate has not consistently increased, because here the growth rate is quite high, right? Here also it is good enough, but here the growth rate is down. So this you have to remember. But as far as the quantum is concerned, the capital expenditure has gone up. What is a capital expenditure? It is that expenditure which either increases your asset or lowers your liability, will be your capital expenditure. Next is the increase in the project approval by PPPAC. PPP here is again public-private partnership. AC here is the appraisal committee for public-private partnership. So here you can clearly see that the total project cost, if you talk about, has gone beyond 1 lakh crore rupees. So it is in rupees crore. So they basically 104,686 crore rupees. That means over 1 lakh crore rupees, which was very less in financial year 3. Then this is the highest jump, then a slight jump, and then again a good amount of jump here. If you look at the number of projects which were simply 6 in financial year 23 is now up to 28. Now this jump is also because in the previous budget, the government itself has come up with all the possible PPP projects that the central government can take in the next 3 years. It mandated all the ministries that are related to construction and infrastructure to come up with the projects that they can take as a PPP in the next 3 years. And it also requested the state governments to come up with those projects that it can undertake in the next 3 years via PPP. Because of that push, you are seeing an increase. In fact, in financial year, it was 15 and now it is almost double. So this push of the previous budget is quite visible over here. Next is the total national highway network. So 60% increase has been seen from 91,000 kilometers to 146,000 kilometers. Operational high-speed corridors, there has been almost a 10-time increase. Now this is maybe it feels as if, yes, I feel there is a mistake that has been done by the economic survey here. There is not a 10 times increase. It has increased to 10 times. So the reality is, in financial year 14, it was 550. In financial year 26, up to December, it is this. So even if I assume it to be 5,500 and this is 550, what happens is it has become 10 times. It has become 10 times, or you can say it has increased to 10 times, right? But here it is saying 10 times increase. 10 times increase has not happened, because if you say 10 times increase, 10 times of 550 is what? 5,500 plus this 550 again has to be there. So how much it will be? This will be 6,500 550, and it is nowhere near that number. Now, because of such a mistake in the government document, of course, a UPSC aspirant, even I am now thinking as a UPSC aspirant, what should we do if they ask this in the question? So what you should do is, remember that the increase is not approximately 10 times, it has increased to 10 times, or you can say it has increased by approximately 9 times is more close, because this time you have a window wherein you can challenge the UPSC's what you can say UPSC's questions. There will be a time frame where the aspirants can challenge it. So you will have to provide the source through which you are challenging and stating that they have got it incorrect. So no problems, you can give this itself as a source. There will be 3 sources that will be required. So from the ministry's website also you will get it. So this is correct, this would be correct, and this is a misinterpretation, which is quite clear over here. Anyway, let's move ahead. So we have the port infrastructure expansion and record cargo performance. So here, see, record cargo performance will be there when the capacity is increasing day by day. There will be more records that will be set. So that's all right. So we have total cargo handled at the major airports, financial year 15, financial year 25. So of course there is an increase, considerable increase here, not much of an increase here, but also remember this is an increase over a period of 10 years, right? So the percentage increase is going to be quite less, and there might be a lot of ups and downs as well, but over a period of 10 years, of course, you expect it to increase. Next is reduction in the average container vessel turnaround time. Now, what is the turnaround time? So the ship comes into the port, and then the ship, whatever is there on the ship is basically unloaded. You want to export something else, you load that, and the ship turns and goes back. So the time interval between the ship arriving, unloading, reloading, and then turning back on its way is known as TAT, that is the turnaround time. That we have reduced from 43.44 hours to 30.08 hours. So this is a good thing. However, it is still a very long time because it is more than a day, whereas the other ports, the ports in Singapore, etc., which are automated and stuff, they are doing it in 12 to 16 hours. So we need to still improve in this. Next is the total installed renewable energy capacity. This is important. The UPSC can ask you which one is the highest. So you have here the solar energy, which gives you 52%. So no worries whatsoever. It is basically the highest. Then you have the wind energy, which is 21. Then you have the bioenergy, which is 5. And then you have the large hydropower and small hydropower together, which is 22. So remember, if they are simply saying hydropower, then it is 22. It will become second, and wind will come third. But if they are saying large hydropower, which is 20, so large hydropower alone will be at third rank. So this is something important that you should be remembering. Next is, this is an interesting graph, talks about the affordability driving the surge in the monthly data consumption. So here there are 2 graphs side by side. One graph shows what is the average revenue realization per subscriber per GB wireless data. So in 2014, when the data was quite costly, it was 268.97 rupees. It has gone down considerably to 8.27 rupees. So that is really good. But it's not that the companies, the revenue collection would have been going down by that amount, because there has been a considerable increase in the consumption. You can clearly see the data, the average monthly data consumption per wireless data subscription, which was 0.06 GB. That means only 60 MB is now up to 25.24 GB. So the consumption, the realization is down considerably. In fact, from 268 rupees to 8 rupees it is down. So hundreds of percentage it is down. But the use of data is up by you can say thousands of percentages. So that is also going to help in realization of the revenue over here. Economic survey wants to say that the reduction in the price has also led to the increase in the data consumption. So this is all about the ninth chapter, all the important statistics and graph we have taken. We have also seen the important concept which was used in the very beginning. Now stay tuned for the next chapter, that is chapter 10 in our economic survey series. Thank you.